Recognizes the gentleman from Michigan, Mr. Peters, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Chair Yellen, first I'd like to congratulate you on your historic nomination and your confirmation as the Fed Chair, and thank you for appearing with us here today and being so generous with your time. It's not easy to be in the so-called hot seat for as long as you are, so thank you for doing that. We appreciate it. Just last week, as you know, new data came out showing that 2 years after the Korea-U.S. free trade agreement was passed, we have now a record trade deficit with Korea. In fact, our trade deficit with Korea has increased 56% since 2011, which was the year before the trade agreement took effect. And without question, this certainly hurts American manufacturers and American workers. Congress, I believe, can't ignore the impact of trade pacts on our middle class. I voted against the Korea Free Trade Agreement, and I now oppose granting fast-track authority for the Trans-Pacific Partnership unless that agreement includes some very strong enforceable mechanisms to address currency manipulation. I have serious concerns that Japan has been included in the TPP while maintaining the world's most closed auto market and having a history of currency manipulation. The yen recently hit a 5-year low against the dollar, and today's monetary policy report notes that the dollar has appreciated sharply against the Japanese yen since October. It is estimated that the recent fall in the a $2,000 per export vehicle into the pockets of Japan's automakers, a significant disadvantage for our local companies. Now, I don't need to tell you that every country certainly has a right to conduct sound monetary policy, but it is increasingly, in this increasingly interconnected global economy, monetary policy facilitating the direct manipulation of currency, I believe, simply cannot be tolerated. And while it can be argued that Japan's Abenomics policies are not direct innovation or intervention, I believe that it is unsustainable. When Japan can no longer continue these policies, I think that you'll see inevitably a revision to direct currency interventions, a policy that they have used as late as 2011. So, Madam Chair, it certainly, I think it can be argued that the Fed's quantitative easing program has helped American manufacturers. It's helped boost exports and our ability to compete abroad. However, I'm curious to know if you believe that Japanese monetary policy has potentially weakened the beneficial effects of the Fed's quantitative easing program for American manufacturing sector and for middle-class families.
So I would say this is a topic that the G7 has considered and generally come to the conclusion, one that I agree with, that countries should be allowed to use monetary policy to pursue domestic aims, certainly not to target the value of a currency or to attempt some improvement in their competitive situation, but to address broad macroeconomic concerns. Japan has had almost 20 years of deflation, mild but chronic and debilitating deflation, and I think it's natural and logical that after such a long period of deflation, the government and the Bank of Japan should want to put in place a set of policies to end that. As you said, in a global economy, economies are interconnected. Monetary policy does have exchange rate impacts. I see the Bank of Japan's policy is intended, and at least it looks favorable for now, seems to be moving inflation out of deflation territory and toward their 2% objective. To the extent that the policy is designed to stimulate domestic demand, and it looks like it has raised growth in the Japanese economy. Of course, they have continuing problems and the need for, to put in place policies to address their high debt and budget deficits. But to the extent that they're successful and Japan grows more quickly, I think that will be something that will redound to the benefit of Japan's neighbors. If Japan has stronger domestic spending growth, there will be benefits throughout the global economy. But there are exchange rate implications of those policies as well.
Well, certainly if they have closed markets, even if you have stronger domestic markets, but you're not allowing American autos, for example, to be sold in Japan, it really has a detrimental impact. So my question was on the detrimental impact to the United States. It may be good for Japan, but it's bad for the United States.